Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today is Monday, which means it's time for an episode of Loadout, the series where you guys, the viewers, get to pick a custom gun configuration for me to use. The way you do this is you leave a comment down below letting me know what kind of weapon and accessories you'd like me to run with, and I will pick one of the top rated comments for the next episode. Today's Loadout comes from Johnny Atkinson. He says Russian Spetsnaz Vympel style, AN-94 PKA 3.4x scope, foregrip, suppressor, MP443 suppressed, expo, and squad ammo. Now there are some players out there that absolutely love the AN-94. I can't say I'm one of them, but I can make it work when it's set up properly. This style is not properly. Using a suppressor and a 3.4x scope on this gun are blatant contradictions. The suppressor reduces the bullet velocity to around 330 meters per second. So while you're zooming down your 3.4x scope, you're sort of watching your bullets travel towards your enemy at a very slow pace. If they're moving, it's going to be incredibly hard to hit your target, and you have to lead very far in front of your target. So using this for a ranged weapon with a suppressor is just a bad idea. And it's kind of unfortunate that the suppressor has such a drastic reduction on bullet velocity. I'd imagine in real life it's nowhere near this critical, and that it's still a very effective ranged weapon. The only downside is that it adds an extension to your barrel. But I guess in Battlefield they decided they really needed to add some sort of bigger punishment, or penalty rather, for having a suppressor, and cutting your bullet velocity in half is just way too far for this gun, and it makes it pretty much confined to close quarter engagements, at least for being very effective. Now in real life, the AN-94 is an actually very advanced and complex assault rifle. The whole concept behind this weapon is to shoot 2 shots before you feel the recoil of the first shot. So in effect, you should be able to place 2 shots in the exact same area. Now, why would you want to put 2 shots in the exact same area? Well, it's designed to pierce body armor. So the first shot will break the body armor if it's a ceramic plate, and the second shot will go through. However, the Battlefield translation of this is that the shots don't always land in the same area. I've had many instances where I was shooting an opponent, he killed me, and I look at his health and I can see that only one of the shots landed. I got hit markers, but still only one shot landed. So you're shooting 2 shots very close together, but in Battlefield it doesn't guarantee that both are going to hit, even if you get a hit marker. Now let's talk about the upsides of using a suppressor on any gun. Even the AN-94, it will keep you off that mini-map, especially in Team Deathmatch. Found myself able to sneak behind enemy lines on many occasions, and I realized this entire class setup is designed to be stealth. So I was able to get around, get behind enemies, and shoot them without them being aware of me, which is pretty much what you're going to have to do, because in a stand-up firefight against a good opponent with a decent assault rifle, this thing is going to lose unless you manage to get 2 really quick headshots. It also reduces the vertical recoil, which I guess helps out a little bit if you are aiming down sights with that high magnification scope. You're able to keep your crosshair on target a little bit better than you normally would. Personally, I would rather just go with the heavy barrel with this weapon. Even though it increases your vertical recoil though, it's just going to increase your damage, your bullet velocity, and your accuracy at range. There's absolutely no reason not to use the heavy barrel. In fact, I think the AN-94 was really made with the intention of it being equipped with the heavy barrel. Otherwise, you're just kind of using a gun that's really designed for long range precision, and if you're not speccing it for that, then you're really not taking advantage of the weapon. As for using a foregrip with this gun, again, you're sort of going against the grain here. This gun is meant for accuracy, precision while aiming down sights. The foregrip is going to reduce your side-to-side recoil, which is already very low on this weapon, and because you don't fire this gun full auto, it's not that big a deal anyway. So a foregrip is just going to decrease your aiming down sight accuracy and give you a benefit that is really not seen very much with this weapon. So I would have to recommend taking the foregrip off this gun as well. Now, as far as sidearms go, I ended up only using the MP443 every now and then. I didn't find too much use for it. Having the Expo in addition to the MP443 I think is a little bit overkill. You've got 3 suppressed weapons. You're not going to really need all 3 of those in a close quarter situation. If you run out of ammo with your primary, switch to your secondary. If you run out of ammo with your secondary, switch to the X-bow maybe. I never ran into that situation. The only time I would use the X-bow is when I was actively trying to get some footage with it, but for the most part I really didn't find any big uses for it. So I think switching out the X-bow for a medkit, ultimately if you are trying to be as effective as possible, you will just get way more use out of a medkit than an X-bow. Now let's take a look at the AN-94 and what it can potentially provide over other assault rifles out there, because on paper the AN-94 doesn't really seem to offer a lot over other assault rifles. It doesn't fire faster at its fastest firing rate, which means that if you're burst firing this thing perfectly, you can get up to 600 rounds per minute, which is very, very slow compared to other assault rifles out there. In fact, the only other assault rifle that shoots slower is the G3A3, but that thing does a lot more damage. In fact, I was losing a lot of long-range firefights against the G3A3. Now, because you don't get any sort of armor-piercing benefit from firing 2 rounds back-to-back, you don't see the real-world benefit that this gun really provides. The only thing that I can think of that does occur sometimes is if you aim for the head in a medium range scenario, with the suppressor anyway. Heavy barrel will increase that range, but if you aim for the head and you get those 2 headshots back to back because you don't experience recoil between those 2 shots, you can drop somebody in essentially one burst. It's rare, it's hard to do, but it can effectively be one way to drop somebody faster than with any other assault rifle. And this is what I hear from people who really like the AN-94. You just have to be incredibly precise. You have to aim for the head, you have to be on your aiming game, you can't miss your shots, and in that case the AN-94 is a great weapon. In theory, if your accuracy was perfect, then the AN-94 would probably be one of the best assault rifles to use. The fact of the matter is there's so many situations in Battlefield 3 that become chaotic, a little bit more messy, and you need something a bit more well-rounded and a little bit more forgiving for a few missed shots here and there, and that's where the AN-94 becomes one of the worst assault rifles in my opinion. Even at longer ranges where I was really using this gun where it seemed like it was meant to be used, I was losing a lot of firefights to G3A3s, as I mentioned before. M417s, a lot of those semi-automatic sniper rifles were just downing me much better than the AN-94 could perform at range. So it's just such a weird gun in this game. I feel like in Bad Company 2 it was much more effective. It seemed like it did a bit more damage at range. Its accuracy was better. And I just enjoyed it much more in that game. In this game, it seems a bit trickier to use. You have to be extremely accurate, and you don't seem to be rewarded all that much for your accuracy. So if you are curious about the AN-94 and perhaps you're a very accurate player and you really want to try and take advantage of the benefits that the AN-94 has, I would recommend trying this gun without the foregrip and with the heavy barrel. Do not use this loadout. It's probably the worst way that you can possibly use this weapon. The 3.4 times scope isn't bad if you are using the heavy barrel. I think you could get away easily with a hollow scope or even a red dot sight depending on your accuracy or your preference of scopes. So that about wraps it up for this episode of Loadout. As always, thanks for submitting your comments. Don't forget to leave your comments down below letting me know what kind of gun and accessories you'd like me to run with for the next episode of Loadout. And I'll see you guys next time. This is LevelCap, signing off.